Oh, we're in Florida. Let's get a Sunshine Express, It's supposed to be growing those navel oranges. They remind you of the United States Navy, for the waters and the waters. So, we said a Trump train. So, they got this nice little train down here. Remember Donald Trump? He's an old timer, man. Deserves some respect for that Green New Deal. The green grass is at home with the sunny sunshine stuff. Don't burn it up. The Sunshine Express. So you get your kids in a train and send them to school. You buy them books, you send them to school, and sometimes they don't learn a thing. Hey, you remember those dolphins? Right. You should watch the movie Sequest. It's like a series on TV about Sequest. It says Nathan Bridges. Yeah, Nathan Bridges is the captain of that ship trying to build bridges between the people. So let's give him a little more education. Back in the 80s, we had, Arsenio Hall. They had the Soul Train, Saturday Night Live. We had this show. It's like these shoes were so expensive, but they were all messed up, messing up people's feet. Man, they couldn't understand it. They got these big corporations. They're like, man, I got to sue because this shoe, messed up my feet, or this shoe did that. No, you don't. You just got to use a little more education. He says, well, what do you mean? Well, I used to run track. As a matter of fact, I could have went to the Olympics for martial arts or running track. I ran a mile in 4.5 minutes. Can anybody do that? No, a lot of kids these days can't. You ever run a mile in 4.5 minutes? That's pretty fast. When I went to the New Orleans Superdome, big Superdome, big competition. Florida, they spend a lot of money. And he says, man, that kid can throw 60 jumping roundhouses in under a minute. That's your whole body jumping up in the air, spinning around, and throwing a kick out to kick somebody in the face or something. 60 of them. Actually, I think it was 64, 65, 63. More than 60 of them per minute. That's one kick in less than a second. Okay? Pretty fast. So I might know a little bit about activity in sports. So a lot of people, they watch Married with Children. And they see the salesman and Al Bundy going there. He's trying to sell these women's shoes, and these women trying to sell this and that. And they don't know the first thing about selling shoes. They're like, man, hey, look at this. Look at the colors, man. Look at the designs. It's pretty cool. Well, it's because everybody got a different flavor. They want a different design, a different kind of look. There's a lot of people out there to make happy, so they make all kind of different shoes. And that's cool, But the one thing they forgot about, you see, New York, they want to tell you, hey, Nike, just do it. Just try it, Do the right thing. And we don't care. Hey, you want a Chicago Bulls? Okay, no problem. Hey, you need some Jordans? No problem. But if you're going to wear the shoe, at least make sure it fits. And he goes, man, if the shoe fits, wear it, And they hear that cliche and they forget about what the shoe fit means. Well, you send these athletic sports guys, and they say, hey, did you guys get an education too? And they're like, man, we just got to learn how to throw this ball or swing this bat, play this soccer. Or he says, man, mind your business, man. Come on. I can't even see the Adidas, All day I dream about solutions, 1970, 1997. You say, anything goes, man. Yeah. In the hen house, because then you ain't got no education. So we go, what do you mean? Well, say, Porsche. You see? Porsche. See, look, Porsche 911. You see? You remember? Bad Boys, man. Will Smith and them, and it's pretty cool. It's like, hey, Porsche 911. Okay, so let's tell them about shoes. Well, doctors, you got to go to the shoe doctor. You got to go to the foot doctor. You got to go to all these special doctors because there's things that happen to your feet while you're out there running track and playing basketball. You twist the ankle. You don't understand what's going on. You're like, man. And they say, all these famous sports people got these, famous doctors and people they go see, and they got all these brands and they put all this stuff out here for you people to buy. And they're like, I can't believe I put all this stuff out there for them to buy and they're not even selling it right. And they go, man, like Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, he put his name on a shoe. He's like, hey, man, you see this Michael Jordan stuff, remember the Jordan River used to feed, all those families with crops and trees and stuff. Well, not just that, man. It used to feed education, for your feet, put on your walking shoes, check it out. So, So it's like, man, I got these Jordans right here, you know, for the Chicago Bulls, man. You know, you got the Jordans, man. They put them on, they go play the basketball. They're like, man, but they can't understand what happened to their feet. So we got this Jordan shoe, we got that Jordan shoe, but they got the one Jordan shoe. Don't tell them about the other stuff. It's like, wow, you know. I went to United States Navy, JRTC, you know. First thing they did is they said, man, you got a 10.5 shoe. I was like, yeah, man. But there's a lot of lame ducks out there. So he says, well, God said I want to give you a wide foot so you could tell them about those lame ducks. It's like, man, so you mean Mr. Kirk got wide feet, like duck feet, and he's talking to birds and ducks and stuff? Man, what else he talked to? And he said, well, we talked to God a little bit. I says, man, well, can we tell him about it? Well, you know, if you end up flat-footed, you know, in martial arts, they tell you never stay flat-footed. You know, you got to be on your toes, man, be on your toes. You know, why? Because you're always exercising your calves, man, when you're on your toes. You know, you're flat-footed, you get a little lazy. And they said, man, what about flat-footed? You know, when the arch of your feet gets messed up because you're not wearing the right shoes, you know. Yeah, black history, man. Let me tell you about black history. I says, man, I can't believe this guy talking so much junk about the black people. He says, man, he knows more about black people than the black people do. Well, why is that? Well, you know, I was in the GATE program, and they told me all about black history, even the stuff they don't teach in the books. And I says, well, you know, Glory, man. You seen the movie Glory? And he says, hey, this white guy is going to take all the black people over the hill, and they're all going to get blown up and shot. Well, yeah, it was because, you know, there's a couple of bad teachers back in the day, but that's history. That's not the day, man. So, you know, well, history, not hate, man. I go, what are you talking about? I says, well, you know, let me tell you about your shoes. That movie Glory, you know, they had the black guy, man. He was a famous black guy. And it's like, well, they didn't know what he was famous for. They thought he was famous for just going out and fighting the war, shooting guns and blowing stuff up. I said, no, man. He's famous because he was leaving a message, you know, for one of these white teachers to go, hey, man, check this out. I'm going to tell you about the shoes. So he had this movie called Glory, you know. And the little black guy, man, he's running across the river. He's running through the fields. And he's like, man, I got to get over here. And then, man, everybody just give him all kind of flack, you know. So the U.S. Navy, you know, and the Air Force, they had these planes, man, and they gave them flak jackets, you know. You know, what's a flak jacket? You know, he says, well, you know, all these other countries were giving us flack at the time for trying to make this educational universal healthcare system. So, you know, we had to defend ourselves, and we had flak jackets for all the flack we were catching, you know. And it's like, man, well, now we made new insurance for those old people, so you know, they knew that all the work they worked on wasn't a waste of time, so they made AFLAC, you know, a flak jacket. You remember the flak jacket, guys? Well, this is for the, you know, for the veterans, you know. They thought everybody forgot about them. So we say, hey, you know, you got your AFLAC, you know, your AFLAC insurance? Of course they do. They worked hard for it, man. So we go, well, this is what the flak jacket was about. You know, that little black man, he run across that river. He tried to get people shoes, man, that fit. And it's like, man, are you kidding me? It's like, man, they had blisters, flat foot, you know, toes, and, you know, ankle problems, joint problems, all kind of problems, man. So now you got all these companies making all these different shoes. They go to the sports store, and it's like, man, these people don't even know how to sell the shoes. But, you know, if we taught them a little bit about history, I would say history wasn't important. I was like, no, history is important, man. Let me tell you about the history. It's like, black history? Yeah, black history, man. It's like, I can't believe that white guy talks so much crap about black people. It's like, man, he ain't talking crap. He talking crap about black people. It don't matter what color your skin is. If your brain is empty, it's like a black hole wanting to get all kind of information and wisdom, you know? So that's free education. And it says, okay, so now let's talk about the movie Glory again. Well, all day I dream about solutions, you see? You know, you got Adidas, man. You 3 little leaves, man. You like the 3 little birds, you know, Bob Marley and stuff. It says, hey, Trinity power, man. Check this out, you know? You want a shoe? Okay, let's tell them how to sell some shoes. Well, Mr. Kirk got wide feet. Man, that's probably because when they wrote the Bible before I was born, they said, you know, when the military stand at parade rest, we want to make sure that boy can stand firm in the Word of God. So they gave him wide feet, not because he's some lame duck Bill, because when he stand, he's going to tell you about it, and you're going to know. So we say, okay. So you go down, and we got all these basketball shoes, tennis shoes, track shoes. You know, they call them tennis shoes for a reason, because when you're playing tennis, you're moving around real fast, you're twisting, turning, you got your racket, you know, you're trying to swing at the ball, running around. That's why they call them tennis shoes. Then they got basketball shoes, they got football shoes, they got baseball cleats. Now, track and country, you got your sprinters, you got your cross country runners and all kinds of stuff, but you got all kind of different feet, just like you got all kind of different people trying to stand up and do something that they need to do and say, oh man, this is cool. Well, they only had the proper education. So, let's explain to them how the feet work, you know? Every part of the body is a different design for something else on the planet. So, you got wide feet, well, the mass at the center of an object, that is a solid, also a liquid and a gas that's inside of your body, is much like the planet in the atmosphere, And so when you step down and you put some force down, then the thickest part of your foot is going to have the most contact. Now, if your foot is arched, then it's going to put pressure in the center. So, if you have a wide feet, you need cross trainers, Oh, yeah, like Jesus Christ cross trainers, you know what I'm saying? I know. Weird, right? Now everybody's going to be looking at their feet like, am I a cross trainer? Well, it could be. Who knows? So anyways, they put an extra padding in the center, because even if you're flat-footed, you put extra padding in the center because when you step it down, the contact of the force is going to disperse, They call that kinetic energy, They're like, man, kinetic energy? Yeah. You could teach science with anything, a shoelace, a shoe, little gate, gate program, right? You see? Just leave it open a little bit, okay? So anyways, so when you're in here, a little guy comes in and he says, hey man, I'm playing sports. And it's like, you're playing sports? He says, yeah, I need some shoes. He goes, well, what kind of brand shoes you like? He goes, I see about Adidas. I heard about the Jordans, man. I even heard about the Porsche 911s or the Nikes. So they say, okay, well, let's take a look at your foot. Yeah. Well, if it's a real skinny foot, they got a skinny foot, man. That's like a tiny foot, We call that the tiny virus. And what's the tiny virus? The tiny foot virus, man. Because they're not going to have a whole lot of dispersal. So when they step down, you ever seen these big people, man? They weigh like 300 pounds, 200 pounds or something like that. They're trying to get fit and active. They go to the gym and they want to give up because they ain't got the right shoes on, You got all that little tiny feet and all that weight on the little tiny feet. And they're like, man, they're running around like they got peg leg pirates, man. They're like, oh, man. So you say, you know what? Maybe they go down here and they get the right shoe. So you say, well, we got a tiny foot. Then you're going to need a lot of extra padding, What do you mean? Well, you got memory foam, They got memory foam and this and that. Then you see the astronauts, man. You think the space industry is just doing stuff to have fun? It's like, they got astronauts that sit in special chairs with memory foam so it can know how their whole entire body is going to sit in this one seat, And the government, they spent a lot of money to get that one person with that one brain, with that one feature into that one seat, specially designed, So, that's what the space program does. So it's like, so if you get the one foot and the one shoe, they go, man, we spent all that money on all that research and it works? Yeah, man. And it says, well, how come they ain't selling the shoes right then, We put all these shoes out there, we spent all this money in research, and we still can't get nothing done. And it says, man, the doctor's offices are flowing over just like the courts, man. And it says, well, maybe if we teach them a little bit about physics, and the design of things, and maybe, they'll figure it out. And it says, okay. Well, how do they sell a sports shoe? Well, the young kids, they come from the high school and they go down here and they go to the shoe store and like, man, you see this new shoe? It's pretty cool, man. Hey, my Air Force Ones are right there, man. Your Air Force Ones. He says, yeah, man, you want to sell a shoe? Watch this video. Then you could really start selling the shoe with the, air that you make with the words that are coming out of your mouth. Okay? So, there you go. People, it's like, man, education is so simple. Like, hey, you need a little bit of humor? Okay. You heard about the Blue Man Group? That's the Navy, man. And it says, man, they're treating our vets terrible. They do all this stuff for them, and they're treating them terrible. It says, hey. They said Donald Trump's hair was orange, man. You know what I'm saying? You remember TLC? That's the Learning Commission, It's at the Learning Commission, like the Learning Channel, Now, if you turn it around, you say, Christ loves teamwork, See what I mean? Easy stuff. I'm like, man, how does this guy put this stuff together? And you say, well, you talk to God, you could do this kind of stuff all day long. I'm saying, hey, Did you hear about that Green New Deal, man? You know, last summer I gave this thing and I says, hey, you remember the Red Sox? You know, they had something to do with the Blue Jays down there. You know, the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, you know, it's like the Navy and, you know, and all the blood we shed to try to get stuff done, you know. That was the baby sock move and the big sock move. And they're like, man, can you sock it to him for God one more time? This is no problem, man. Anyway, so that's how you sell a shoe. You look at the feet, man. They got small toes, because genetic defects, But some people call them defects, and I call them, genetic deficiencies. So, the genetic deficiencies, they go out and they fish and see what they could do, and they're just fishing the wrong way. And I says, we stopped fishing a long time ago when we started making those naval submarines. So it's like, deficiency, what kind of shoe you need, for your foot. You got little toes, and you step down so there's not a whole lot of space for you to run, You're not going to be a really good track and field person, but did you see those people running with no legs? We got stuff designed for that. So maybe you get a special shoe, And like, man, with the balls of your feet, when you run and step down, there's no toes to disperse the force with the kinetic energy. So you're going to need a little extra padding in the front of the shoe where that contact comes down so that it can disperse that energy instead of keeping it all right there, because you go in a big hard surface and little tiny toes, because your feet are different than everybody else. It's kind of messed up, and then you step down and like, man, if I step down and I'm running, my balls of my feet are going to hurt. My feet are going to hurt because they ain't got enough toes to disperse that energy into the shoe with the padding. So you get a little extra padding there, and when they contact, they go, oh, man. And it disperses from the shoe into the ground a little more easier, Yeah, simple genetics, man, some physics and stuff. So, it's not that hard, man. All these big corporations, they say, hey, corporations don't care, man. It's like, what you talking about? What are you talking about? We sent you a guy, man. You almost left him in a ditch, but, thank God you didn't. Now he's telling you how to sell your products and services.